For this example, Eduard's resin 1/48 scale set for the F-14D was used. This reference contains two Martin Baker SJU-17 ejection seats. The resin is cast with exceptional detail and includes photo etch details and decals. A saw was used to separate the seat from its resin base by cutting the material away little by little without exerting pressure. The 120 grit sandpaper included in the tapered sanding stick set was used for cleanup. All excess resin was gradually removed while holding the piece gently to avoid damage. All components were then assembled using cyanoacrylate slow dry. The glue was placed on a non-absorbent surface and applied to each piece using brass toothpicks. Tweezers were used for correct placement and positioning. This glue will allow you to move the piece for a few seconds before it dries. The small pieces can be separated from their supports by cutting each with pliers. Because these pieces are small and fragile, 320 grit sandpaper was used for cleanup. Again, cyanoacrylate slow dry was used for assembly. The use of tweezers is essential with small and delicate details. In order to paint each piece, they were held in place using double-sided soft tape, which does not damage the resin and will not leave any residue on the parts. This simple step makes the parts much easier to handle. All pieces were first primed with one-shot black by airbrushing in thin layers, taking care to cover all small recessed and raised details. Highlights were added to the center of different parts of the seat to create volume. To highlight the small details of the seat, Dio dry brush color basalt gray was used. For correct and precise application, the new Dio dry brush technical brush designed for this technique with rounded tip and soft hair was used to excellent effect. Lightly load the brush and unload on an absorbent paper until it leaves almost no trace of color. Little by little, the details were softly rubbed with the brush, easily making the details stand out. The next step was to paint the seat cushions using acrylic colors ochre brown, pale gold yellow, and dark brown. Each color was carefully applied with a No. 1 Marta Kolinsky premium brush. Each piece was painted separately, allowing for a comfortable working time before the paint dries. The base color of ochre brown was applied. While the base color was still fresh, the shadows were applied with dark brown, starting from the center, and blending the color to create smooth transitions. Before the paint can dry, a mixture of ochre brown and pale gold yellow was mixed for the highlights. The highlights were placed on the sides of the cushions and blended as shown previously for the shadow. For this process, it is important to work in small areas, always keeping the colors fresh. The same steps were applied to the rear of the seat cushions and on the second seat. The next step was to apply the decals using Ultra Decal Set and Ultra Decal Fix. The decals to be used were first cut out. Tweezers were used to soak each in water until the decal lifts from the backing paper. The decal application brushes specifically intended for this purpose were used. The fine, soft hairs are gentle and will not damage your markings. As usual, the area was first wetted with Ultra Decal Set. The decal was then separated from the backing paper with the decal application brush 1 and placed on the area moistened with Ultra Decal Set. Tweezers were used to make final adjustments. Once dry, a coat of Ultra Decal Fix was applied. With the decal application brush 3, the decal was perfectly adapted to the surface. The same simple procedure was used for all the decals on both seats, with outstanding results. The photo-etched parts offered with the Eduard kit provide pre-painted seat belts. A piece of sanding sponge of 280 grit was cut to size. The photo-etched parts were placed face down on a flat and rigid surface and sanded to scuff the surface for the best adhesion. The photo-etched parts were removed with a curved blade. To glue the photo-etched parts, instant dry cyanoacrylate was used. Only one side of the photo-etched parts received a small amount of glue. The seatbelt was then fixed to the upper end of the seat and set aside to dry completely. The photo-etched belts were then shaped and positioned so that they fall naturally over the surface. The rest of the seatbelt was then carefully glued in place. The high level of detail provided by the pre-painted photo-etched seatbelts is exceptional. To integrate this detail into the cockpit, highly diluted outlining black was applied. Beginning by outlining the belts, then a wash was applied over them. This simple process gave volume to the details and integrates the belts into the overall finish. Using the color bluish-gray, the wiring was carefully painted. Finally, the acrylic color steel was used to paint clamps, connectors, and other details. If necessary, matte lucky varnish can be used to unify the whole piece. Discover many more videos on our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and activate notifications. Thank you for watching.